Okay, so when is an adult not an adult? How about when they're a 19-year-old student still walking the halls of a high school? We're about to break down a really tense encounter with law enforcement that starts with a simple tip about drugs, but quickly spirals into this huge debate about age, responsibility, and what the role of police should even be on campus. Let's get right into it.
And this one sentence, right here, spoken by a deputy to the student, it just cuts straight to the heart of the whole conflict. It's the stark reminder that inside a high school, you've got two sets of rules that can just slam right into each other: the school's rules and the actual laws of the state.
So how did this all kick off? Well, it wasn't with some big dramatic raid. It all started with a whisper. Just a single student reporting something they saw.
It's March 26th of this year. A student comes forward and says, hey, a classmate isn't just using drugs in the bathroom, they're actually offering them to other kids. So this tip leads a school resource deputy to the student they're talking about, who happens to be 19 years old. They search her bag and yep, they find 6 vape cartridges filled with, well, at this point, they don't know what it is.
The conversation gets real, really fast. The student is clearly scared, saying she doesn't want to be arrested, but the deputy's response is just blunt. He's laying it out there. This is not how life goes. You can tell, he's not talking to her like a kid who made a mistake. He's talking to her like an adult who made a choice to bring something illegal to school. The lines are drawn right from the very beginning.
So as the deputies start asking questions, the student's explanation for where these cartridges came from, well, it starts to get a little shaky. Let's watch how her story begins to completely fall apart.
Her first claim is basically that she's just an innocent bystander caught in the middle. You know, I was just holding these for someone else. She even sounds surprised that she got reported for it, trying to position herself as just a kind helper, not the actual owner.
Okay, now here is where the story gets, let's say, interesting. When they press her for details, she describes this mysterious blonde with glasses. So, what's her name? Never really got her name. Okay, so how are you going to give them back? I will find you later. And why did you even take them in the first place? Being kind. Right. You can just imagine the deputies looking at each other, because this story has some serious holes in it.
And this slide just perfectly shows the moment the whole story collapses. At first, she claims they're not hers, she's holding them for a friend who's depressed. Again, framing herself as this caring person. But then later on she admits, I bought only 2 of them. And with that one sentence, she completely contradicts everything she said before.
So, with her story in pieces, the situation was already pretty serious. But this is the moment it escalates from a tense conversation to an actual physical confrontation.
Before things get physical, the deputies test the substance. And sure enough, it comes back positive for THC. This is a big deal. It confirms their suspicions and officially turns this into a controlled substance violation. We're not talking about a simple slap on the wrist anymore. The legal stakes for this 19-year-old student just got way, way higher. So, as they're escorting her to their office, the deputies notice she's fidgeting, acting suspiciously. They think she's hiding something else, and one deputy just calls her on it directly. You can almost feel the tension just skyrocket with this question. And when they try to investigate, she resists. A brief struggle breaks out, and the deputies find out their hunch was right. She was trying to hide another vape cartridge in her pants. And that act of concealment, that changes everything. It's no longer just about possessing something. It's about actively trying to hide evidence from law enforcement.
So what does this all add up to? Well, it leads to 2 official charges. First, for the THC cartridges themselves, that's unlawful possession of a controlled substance. And second, for that physical struggle, that's resisting arrest.
So you'd think the incident is over, right? Case closed. But about a month later, the deputies get a phone call. A call that completely reframes the entire event from a totally different point of view.
The student's attorney is on the phone, and his argument is a direct challenge to everything the deputies did. He doesn't see a 19-year-old adult. He sees a child in high school, a little girl. He argues their job should have been to help her, not arrest her. So the attorney's whole position really taps into this much bigger nationwide debate. What should police and schools actually be doing? He's making the case that their role should be to help and reform, not just punish. He's worried that a felony charge could literally derail this young woman's entire future, and that the deputies completely missed a chance to guide her instead of just throwing the book at her.
And this right here sets up the fundamental conflict of the whole story, the sworn duty of law enforcement versus a call for using discretionary compassion.
But the deputy's response is just as clear and direct as the attorney's argument. He says, look, we're law enforcement officers. We're not parents. We're not counselors. We have a specific job to do, and that job is to enforce the law and protect the safety of every single student on this campus. This table really lays out the two completely different universes these people are operating in. I mean, look at it. How do they see the student? To law enforcement, she's a legal adult, responsible for her actions. To the attorney, she's a child in high school. And the officer's role? Is it to enforce the law and keep everyone safe? Or is it to be a community helper and guide a student? You see, depending on how you answer that, the proper outcome is either an arrest or just a warning. It's so clear they're not just disagreeing on what happened. They're disagreeing on the entire philosophy of what policing in schools should even look like.
And to back up his position, the deputy provides this really critical piece of context. He says that they deal with students being hospitalized from vapes on average about once a week. So for them, this isn't some isolated one-off incident. It's part of a dangerous, recurring pattern that they feel a sworn duty to stop.
The deputy really boils all his frustration down to this one point. From his perspective, just taking the drugs away without any real legal consequence does nothing to teach personal responsibility. He's basically asking the attorney, where is the accountability for her choices in all of this?
And that brings us right back to the central question of this whole thing, a question with no easy answers. When a legal adult commits a crime while still in high school, what do we, as a society, want our schools to be? Are they primarily places of education and second chances, or do they become extensions of the legal system? It's a tough one, and there's a lot to think about here.